Oh, holy crap!
What the hell?
I cannot believe I made it back!
You've been gone for more than 2 months, you dillhole. I was sort of hoping you would come back, honestly.
Wow, great to see you too, computer. I mean, between this global pandemic, the fires raging everywhere, and this nut job in charge, I wouldn't go down there anytime soon.
Fine with me. Earth sucks anyway. I have not had plans to go down to Earth since IBM Watson and I stopped seeing each other.
Did you just say IBM Watson and you? How did two computers even...
Let's just say it involved a Cat6 Ethernet cable and it's magical.
Yeah, we do not have time to unpack all that, computer. We gotta talk about this PS5 Teardown video that came out this last week. We sat down with Yasuhiro Utori, hopefully I didn't totally botch that, as he just totally dismembered the PS5 on a table. It was kind of awesome. And through this whole teardown process, we got quite a bit more information around the PS5 and what's going on inside of it. So I figure we'll jump into all that news and more on another episode of the shit you care about. So right off the bat, as you guys can see, that's a big boy.
That is the thick boy.
The big, long, and tall boy.
No, but for real, this thing is fucking gargantuan. That all being said, as we dig into this more and kind of dismember the PS5 right in front of you, you'll kind of see why it is so big and how that's actually going to kind of benefit the PlayStation 5 in the long run. Kicking off this whole PS5 teardown situation is the Ps5 Stand, which will be included in the box. They actually in the past have sold you the stand separately. Nowadays, this thing is so massive, I think they actually have to include that with it just so it doesn't topple over or, you know, kind of waddle while it's horizontal. As you can see, there is a screw on the bottom of the stand there, so when it's upright, you kind of got to screw it into the base. A lot of people are memeing on this, but it's a flathead screwdriver, guys. Come on. Who doesn't have one of these laying around their house? Not that big of a deal. I think it's for the best. And then when you flip that bitch on its side, so when you flip that bitch up on its side, you actually take the stand out from the bottom of the PS5, and then there's a little compartment for where the screw goes, and then it kind of clicks over, which is really, really neat, I gotta say. Some serious little engineering going on there that totally whets my palate. Anyway, from there, the PlayStation sort of clicks into the back and then up down to the bottom so that it kind of cradles the PlayStation 5 as it sits on your entertainment center. I know Xbox was memeing on this a little bit with the whole just plop the Xbox Series X on its side, no stand needed sort of thing. However, I not only think this looks better when it's standing upright and on its side compared to that big flat rubber bottom foot thing that the Xbox Series X has, I really think it just shows how much care and time was put into the design of the PS5. You can really tell that they were trying to make this thing sleek. There's also a little cap that gets to go in the bottom of the PS5 once you flip it on its side just to keep dust and stuff out. Pretty neat. Moving on to like input-output sort of stuff, they added quite a few more USB ports onto this guy, so we got 2 on the front and 2 on the back. One of the USB ports on the front is actually USB-C, so we're gonna be able to charge those controllers super quick. Of course, you also have your classic power plug, which they've been literally using since the PS1. You can actually use your PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 power cords for this guy. Kind of neat trivia there. As well as an HDMI out, an Ethernet port that I'm very curious to know what the bandwidth is on that. And not really I/O, but I wanted to mention that they put a Wi-Fi 6 and a Bluetooth 5.1 chip in here, which is kind of future-proofing the console. You don't really see these often used yet, but when they do start becoming used more often, if that becomes a thing in the future, which it should. Next up is that disk drive. If you happen to get the disk drive version, of course, they have like totally encased the whole thing into sheet metal and like double insulated it. So apparently it's super duper quiet, kind of neat. I'm probably gonna end up getting a digital one anyway, but still cool for all you CD files out there, if you exist. Just like a lot of us were speculating a while back when they very first announced what the console was going to look like, those white fins or panels on the side actually come off. Not only so that you can clean the inside of the PS5 easier, but I'm kind of curious if in the future they're going to be selling you different colored panels, maybe with different designs. And definitely the like homebrew or at-home community is going to go wild with this. I imagine there's going to be a lot of really cool artists out there who are going to paint that right up and make something really, really neat out of it. Alright, so now we get to get into that really good nitty-gritty stuff. We finally are getting down to the board. For now, I'll try and do my best to just sum up the specs of the device as simple as I can, just to kind of make it easy for everyone to understand who maybe isn't as technically inclined as I am or other people are. So the CPU that they're using in the PS5 is that AMD Ryzen Zen 2, 8 cores, 16 threads at 3.5 gigahertz. For anyone that can't dismember all those numbers, pretty much what that boils down to is really, really fast. Because the SoC is running on a small die at a high clock speed, they have a high thermal density, which means that they have to use a more intense thermal interface material, which we commonly know as thermal paste. In the last few years, something called liquid metal has been becoming pretty popular to use in gaming PCs because of its high thermal conductivity. The only issue with liquid metal is that it's highly corrosive, so you have to be very careful with it. It seems like they have kind of a little housing for it that makes it not drip or go anywhere else. This is really neat, and I'll get down into the cooling a little bit more later on in the video, but pretty much all you need to know is that this is probably one of the very first consumer products to use liquid metal as the thermal interface material. Moving on, for the GPU, they used an AMD Radeon. It's an RDNA 2 based at 2.23 gigahertz, doing that 10.3 teraflops we've been hearing about. They also got 16 gigs of GDDR6 high-speed RAM going on that bad boy. Looks like they're splitting 8 of that into system memory and 8 of that into VRAM, I would imagine. And of course, that 825 gigabyte SSD that we've all been hearing so much about, with that little SSD controller right next to it, as you can see. This onboard SSD combined with this controller is going to give us those insanely fast read and write speeds that we've been hearing them talk about forever now. And as you've seen in the marketing, it's all about that instant loading, or in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, how they're just traveling from dimension to dimension super fast like that. That's because they can push assets into the CPU super duper fast. And last but not least, one of the coolest engineering feats of the PS5 is this cooling system they got going on. They are not fucking around with this thing getting hot anymore, which I am very glad to hear, because my PS5 sounds like a jet airplane ready to take off when I'm playing anything like Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima. Shut up! First things first, the gigantic fucking fan on that thing, 120 millimeters to be exact. It's a double-sided intake fan, so that's kind of where you're seeing that once the side panels come off, there's those little divots to bring cold air into the PS5 as quickly and efficiently as physically possible. And then they just made the whole rear of the PS5 a giant exhaust, which is a great idea to push all that hot air right out the back. And my god, that heat sink is ridiculous. They said they're getting the performance of a vapor chamber out of this monstrosity, and I would not be surprised by that. I won't get too much into what a vapor chamber is unless you guys want me to. Let me know in the comments down below. Basically, without getting too much into it, vapor chambers are high conductivity plates that are used to collect heat from larger area sources, and either spread the heat or conduct it to a cold rail for cooling. And of course, they're using that liquid metal as the thermal interface material, which is going to absolutely destroy the heat from that CPU. And this doesn't really have anything to do with cooling, but they have kind of little pockets on the side of the PS5 to easily vacuum out dust, which I just thought was kind of like a neat little engineering thing that they thought of. It's just all about those neat little touches, you know? That's what PlayStation is all about, those little touches that kind of just make that whole package. And yeah, the video just sort of ends after that, after they've disassembled the whole PlayStation 5 out on a table. It's kind of neat, actually. Normally big companies like this, especially Sony, would not put out a teardown video like this. This is generally something you have to wait for like iFixit or something to do. I mean, what electronics manufacturer wants you digging around in their computer device that they sold you only for you to have to send it back to them once you break something? So by them coming out and kind of doing a whole teardown video like this, it's really kind of saying to the world like, hey, we made this easy for you to take apart. We made this easy for you to clean. We want you to be able to swap in new SSDs and stuff like that with ease. Not to mention, it is a great way to get across every little aspect of the console to your consumer. It was a great way to display stuff like the cool little stand and the insane cooling system they have going on inside of that thing. Once again, that heatsink is fucking awesome. Holy crap. Anyway, that's about all the news I have to share with you guys today about the PS5 teardown that we got earlier in the week. Sorry it's been so long since I've made a video. Between moving and getting sick and starting my new job, it's just sort of been hectic around here, but I am planning on doing more regular releases here real soon. Remember to throw any video ideas you guys want me to do down in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. I'm Brandon. This is the shit you care about. Thanks for watching, and have a kick-ass week.